It's one of the Birmingham boys. He's making his way back towards Weaver's Nest. We've just come from Treehouse Dam. He's mobile straight north now. Okay, just keeping everybody updated on the Game Drive radio. But I don't think anyone's particularly interested. The reason why I say this is because the Torchwood Pride was found also back, they're just on the Manyeleti boundary. I don't think anyone found the Nkuhumas, and then there was also a mating pair of lions walking around. So I think everybody's had their lion fix. Okay, here's our opportunity to make a gap for it. Let's go. Whee, and at least I can say comfortably, I don't think Tinyo is going to take us through some thick terrain like the leopards have over the last couple of weeks. Here he is. And he doesn't mind us as well, in case you are slightly worried about Sebastian and I, and you think that this lion might try and attack us. He's not bothered by us at all. You can see he barely glances over at us, and he's used to having the, you know, sort of the clanging and bumping around that does happen when you drive off-road. But he's a man on a mission. Now, Lisa, you've said that he's got quite a strut going on. Definitely. I don't know where he's going, though. Now he's changed directions. Like, now he's going more east. So now it sounds like I've called that sighting in incorrectly. But he is going to go towards the road. Let's go this way around. I just don't want to get too close to him and bother him, especially if I'm trying to get ahead. We'll get him through this gap here. Watch your head, Seb. Oh, we're going to go onto a road. Now, hopefully, go make a quick gap here, and that's the hardest thing about going on safari, is trying to figure out where the animals are going to go so that you can beat them to it. Here he comes. I hope you're taking lots of screenshots. So yes, like I said, maybe you can start off with Tinyo when we first started seeing the Birmingham boys coming through, but just before their takeover, and right up until today, and use these screenshots. If you take any, put them together, and we can see sort of a timeline on how much he's actually grown. Remember to, of course, hashtag Safari Live. How great is this? Now, Ladybug and Daisy, you said that his mane has gotten dark. It has, and it's filled out quite a bit. Now we need to pick up the pace, because this is a spot where we could lose him. I'm just trying to find a gap. We're going to have to go. Oh no, he's going towards Pangolin Track. Maybe, I think. Oh no, now I'm in low range, so I can't go back very quickly. I have to pop the car out of 4x4 gear. Okay, he's going towards Chelepan. Up that sighting again. Stations Madonna and Gala has now changed direction. He's just slightly north of Pangolin Track. He's going sort of towards Twin Dams and Chelepan. Okay, this is no good. We go in here. I thought he was going to come onto the road, but he's changed direction again. He's just through there. Now, this is the block where I was trying to find my num-num. I remember my Carissa bispinosa tree. Maybe I'm going to find it in here. Well, I need to do some serious off-roading now to try and get another view of this lion, so I'm going to send you back to Scott, and I wonder what he's going to have to say about me finding the lion.
Taylor, well done on finding a big male lion. However, that does not help you in the quest for the leopard challenge. So, if anything, it's possibly unfortunate that you found the lion, because now you can't go and look for the leopard. Anyway, fear not, we have not progressed any further in our search for leopard. However, we have come across a herd of impala which have been jumping for joy. They're in these thickets, and they came all streaming out doing that pronking, galloping run that they often do when they're being chased by a wild dog, to indicate that they are strong and fit. And it's a wonderful thing to watch, but it appears they are not playing ball with us. So we're going to continue. I'm going to show you an interesting thing about this car. It's got keys that it starts with, like most cars. So that's good. We turned the key, it started. And then while you're driving on these bumpy roads, sometimes the key slowly jiggles its way out. And then all of a sudden you're driving without any car keys in the ignition. So an interesting little thing about this vehicle. This is actually the vehicle that Jamie uses most of the time. We kind of each have our own vehicle to a degree. This is called Mila, who can run without keys. You could probably turn it on as well with just a random piece of metal that fits into that keyhole. Brent's got the largest vehicle due to his long legs, so his vehicle's got a slightly bigger leg room. And mine was actually a pickup. It's only got 2 doors, not 4. It's all slightly different, but loving these larger vehicles. The ones in the Sabi Sands are shorter than this, which are actually perfect for the Sabi Sands because there's thicker. Oh, carry on doing that. Need to put the keys back in quickly to turn it off. Hold on a second. There we go. I love seeing zebra dust bathe, and it is something that I've yet to be able to show with you since I've been here. So let's just see if this one who's sniffing the ground now doesn't. Ooh, we're in luck. Here goes. Oh yeah. Oh, that must feel so good. Imagine not being able to scratch that back of yours with all the little bugs and parasites that these guys have to deal with. That must be absolutely joyous. Nice to see the contrast between the dirty, recently dust-bathed one and the one that appears to be coming to queue. I think we're going to get another one here, Ferg. I think they're feeling... Oh, you see how it kind of kicked up the dust with its hooves there to try and create a fine film to cover its body? I don't know how this can actually help protect them against anything other than the initial relief of the scratching. One more time, give us a zebra breakdance. While you're chewing, that would be awfully cool. It would make you one of the coolest zebra in the mire. There we go. Look at that. Keeping the little blade of grass in the corner of its mouth tactfully. There we go. That is a very, very hip zebra who can break dance and eat grass at the same time. Good on ya. Alrighty. Oh, we've got another one here. Also, it seems everyone's doing a little bit of scratching and itching. This one's got a different technique. And I think this is the perfect little branch with which to comb one's mane. Carry on, as you were. It's funny how sometimes animals can be camera shy. But, you know, the word of Safari Live is growing, so you've probably found they know how big we are getting and how much we are spreading, how many people are watching, so don't worry, little zebra. We will forgive you for your camera shyness. And we will venture forth in order to find a leopard and win this challenge. If none of us find a leopard, we'll have to roll this challenge over till the next time that all 3 of us are out. And I was thinking as a possible kind of fate for the loser, maybe to buy like a wig, something funny, and then you have to wear a wig, present a drive with a funky hairstyle. Speaking of which, it would actually be perfect for Tristan to lose, because I'm told he's looking quite dashing with his new haircuts. And wouldn't it be funny if we could replace his new shave with a blonde wig, plaited with pigtails? Okay, well, it sounds like Taylor is still with that big Birmingham boy, and it's time for you to go back and join her.
He is, and he is hot, panting, probably feeling slightly on the uncomfortable side with the size of his belly, but look at the size of those paws. They are enormous, much larger than the paws of a leopard. Even Tumba couldn't compete with a big male lion. And we always talk about how big Tumba, the young male leopard's tracks are. For leopards, they're pretty big, but nothing quite trumps those feet of a male lion. Now, there's a lot of commotion going on the radio. Alice, I can't get a word in. Maybe you can ask Tristan if he can call the sighting and that he's static. He's just sitting. We're just off Pangolin track. He'll get our visual from the road. I'd rather focus on here, and then he can maybe update the sighting once there's a gap. Thank you very much. So he's grooming himself now. He's been on a bit of a walk. I think we must have just missed him drinking at Treehouse Dam. I think that's where he would have come in from Hoffman's. It's not a very far route that he's walked. Had a drink of water, and now he's come through here. Whether he's going to lay up for the rest of the morning, I'm not sure just yet. He might still continue heading on the move. I think he's going to head in the direction of where the Nkuhumas were, which is east, somewhere in Bivels Hook. They seem to be closer towards the Kruger boundary now. Okay, great, thanks. Sorry, just chatting to Alice. Alice is just confirming about that sighting. But he is a magnificent boy. Now, you know who I'm excited to see? If this is what Tinyo looks like. Mfumo is quite big in terms of his body size. We always thought that he had the biggest body out of the Birmingham boys. So he must be monstrous now. And he'll also have a beautiful mane. Nsuku and Nena must be looking gorgeous as ever. They've always been two very, very pretty lions with fairly dark manes. But we always suspected that they're slightly older than Tinyo and Mfumo. And that's why there was such a color difference. Now, a question from Alexander with camouflage. Wondering, why do lions have a plain coat, whereas the other cats don't? Well, that's not actually entirely true, because if you look at a caracal, the caracal's slightly, well, we call them a rooi cat, a red cat as another name, or an African lynx. They've also got a similar sort of coloration to their body, slightly more reddish though, and completely plain. No markings like a leopard or like a tiger has on, or a cheetah. And it's just for different types of camouflage. So lions can adapt. They can live in most places in Africa. They're not just restricted to the savannah. But when you're hunting in tall grass, to have a tawny colored body like this, it's ideal. It's beautiful. It blends in very, very, very well. So even though they don't have spots, their camouflage is still perfect. I'm just trying to think what else has got a fair. Yeah, I suppose it's not the only cat. Like I said, the caracal. And then you get different types of cats all over the world. And I'm talking about sort of wild ones, not domesticated cats, that have got plain colored coats too. So it's not all of it. They don't need it. But he's beautiful though. So it's nice, because we thought at one point, we didn't think all the Birmingham boys were going to have dark coats. Dark mane, sorry, but they do. And there you can see his right canine. You can see how it is broken. That's another way to identify him. Yellow teeth, but still looking good. Dory, you've noticed all the scars on his face, and you said that he is quite scarred up. He is, but him and Mfumo used to get into quite a few battles, and they seem to be the ones also that the Nkuhuma Lionesses used to swat through the face a couple of times. But it's not uncommon to see male lions with all scars like this. They do sort of come into conflict with lots of other male lions, and then again, as we were talking about it earlier, they'll fight amongst themselves too. Now, it's very rare to actually see a lion that has a beautiful clean face. The pretty boys. I like the boys that have been sort of battling it out in terms of taking pictures and things. It's beautiful to see animals with all sorts of scars. So we have a new viewer who's just joined us. Pictured Grace, welcome. It's great to have you, and well, what a great day to start watching and having one of the Birmingham boys. Now your question was, what is the lifespan of a lion? Well, it depends. Male and female slightly different. Now with the boys, they don't live as long as the lionesses do. Like we've just been chatting about, they're in conflict. They're the ones that protect the pride. They're constantly marking and defending the territories. So the chances of them being taken out by another male lion are a lot higher. And then also with their prey that they're hunting, buffalo, giraffe, sometimes even elephants, it's very dangerous for them too. So they don't always live very long. So I would say a male lion in this particular area is not more than about 12 years old, maybe slightly older at times, sometimes even 10 years old. So between 10 and 12 years, I'd say. The lionesses can live for a few more years longer than that. I've seen a lioness that was about 15 years old before. But then they're fairly frail. It's a tough life for a big cat. But look at him. Luckily you don't have the flies bothering you today, Tinyo. If this was summer, he'd be shaking his head, he'd be biting at the air. There's a couple of flies on his body, you can see just to the right of him, it looks like it. But they don't seem to be bothering him too much around his eyes. Every now and then you just see his tail swish, but obviously not biting him too much. Curious one, you said that it also looks like he's eaten a buffalo all by himself. No, I don't. So not quite a buffalo, but a zebra. The fact that he's come out of he's crossed Gowrie Main, coming out of Hoffman's, that means it must be the lion that everyone was looking at that was feeding on a zebra kill. And I suppose that's what the lions are having to feed on at the moment, is lots and lots of zebra. They seem to be the only animals, as well as the waterbuck, that are around. Hopefully the buffalo will return and come back towards the Djuma, move away from the river systems and come up here, and then it'll be really, really exciting because we'll have the return of the lions. And remember, when a pride catches it in one day, they'll on a day or two. It depends on how big the pride is, of course, but normally we see the ngumas feeding on a kill for about 2 or 3 days. I suspect that'll be slightly less now because they've got 6 very hungry lions that aren't cubs and little anymore. They'll be eating 3 or 4 times the amount that they were last year, probably even a bit more than that. So maybe the carcasses won't last. But how exciting is it? We've got this boy, and hopefully we're going to see all 4 of the Birminghams together again. That's something I still have not seen. I've only ever seen 3 of them together, so I'm still waiting for that day when the 4th one comes along. And there we go, look at that belly now. He's eaten the beach ball. Now, actually, is that blood underneath his mane, or is it just water? Just underneath his chin. I'm just trying to have a look. You can see there's wet pit, just water. Oh no, it's just water. Just double checking, so you can see that he has drank. He did go down for a drink. So Sharon, you were wondering how old is this male lion? Now, something that guides tend to always forget to do is we'll find lions, we'll determine their age, and then they never seem to get any older. I remember, and I'm guilty of it, all guides are guilty of it, we called the Charleston males 5.5 for about a year. Like they didn't age. So, like I said, Tinyo and Mfumo seem to be slightly younger than Nsuku and Nena, but I reckon by only a few months, maybe 6 months or so. So I would put these boys, they must be about 6 years old now, maybe even slightly older than that, maybe 6.5, because I reckon that Mtsuku and Nena must be about 7, because we saw them with these beautiful dark manes already last year. They were looking good, and even early into this year they were much larger. So these boys are just coming into the prime of their lives now, and they typically take their first so they have their first takeover as dominant males when they're between 5 and 5.5 years old. So it's somewhere around there. It's obviously very difficult to give an accurate date of birth unless you were there and you witnessed mom giving birth, but you sort of just roughly gauge. And these lions didn't come from here, they've come from very far away. Just because we haven't seen the Birmingham boys, I suppose with all the new viewers that we had, we better chat about where they're from. So they come up from the Timbavati, which is north of us. I'm not exactly sure how, as the crow flies, how many kilometers north of us, but quite a distance from where we are. And they moved all the way south, so even the Timbavati is open to the Greater Kruger National Park, so they would have gone into Kruger, moved down this way, and then they settled in. So the farm that they actually were born on, or from where the pride is called the Birmingham farm. That's where they got their names. That's typically how the boys are named as well, is that whichever property they were born on, they will get that sort of name. And these were all farms, especially in the Sabi sand and the Timbavati. They were being used for various things, so they have these other names. And now I think he's going to sleep here. I don't think that this boy is going to do too much. I think he's going to take a rest. He looks exhausted, but we'll sit with him for a little bit longer. Let's go across to Tristan, who's got a different type of predator.
Well, not anymore. We don't. We had a beautiful brown snake eagle, just to tie into our story of Tundi and the snake eagle, but it flew away, unfortunately, which is the way it goes. Birds often do this to us, is that they sit perfectly, and as you kind of get everything sorted and get the camera nice and leveled, then it just takes off. Sorry about that, Craig. Poor Craig had to do all kinds of maneuvering to try and get that bird on shot, and then it flew away for him. That's the way it goes. Now, there are leopard tracks really everywhere. We've found more leopard tracks on that little sort of secret road, or not so secret road, called Ingwe Alley. So there's tracks there as well. And I don't know, these leopards have gone all over the place. Now, is our bird going to sit still? Because it's just here on our right hand side. Sorry, Craig, a little bumpy up here. Let's see. Hopefully it's going to stay still, because it's actually quite a nice view of it. You behave yourself now. So that is the original brown snake eagle that we were trying to see earlier that flew away. And the reason why we know it's a brown snake eagle is, one, just because of its sort of posture. It sits quite upright, big, robust, round head, and then those bare featherless legs. So Scott says I'm behind the times with my snake eagle, and that he spotted one a lot earlier. Well, I'm sorry, Scott. I didn't know that you spotted one, and I'll try be better for this afternoon. As Kirsty always says, you've got to be better. That's her slogan in life, so I'll try be better, Scotty D. And you just try find your leopard, and while I sit with this bird, I'm giving you at least an advantage to try and see if you can find a leopard on the Mara side. So there we go. But you can hear the squirrels are alarm calling. Even though this bird doesn't really hunt squirrels, you'll find that they still alarm call when there's a bird of prey in the area. They'll make a bit of a noise when they see things like this. At the end of the day, probably from where that squirrel is, it can't identify exactly which bird of prey it is, and it just knows that sometimes they hunt them. So making a bit of a noise just to warn everyone that there is a predator in the area. And I'd imagine we'll see quite a bit of this in terms of raptors being down on the ground. The reason why, down in the trees, is because it's quite overcast, so not too many thermals, and it's going to be difficult for them to expend massive amounts of energy flying. So better for them to just be down and then use the trees and wait for the sun to come up and for things to warm up before they fly. But that is a pretty typical raptor shot on a cloudy day. Dead tree out in the open. So Berserk, you say, man, that's a nice bird. Well, it is a nice bird. I actually really do like these brown snake eagles. They're interesting birds in the way that they go about their business and go and find snakes of all descriptions, and the fact that they do take on some of the meanest snakes we have out here is quite amazing. Now, don't run. There are some warthogs there that look as though they're going to run away from us, and this will be about the third set of warthogs we've tried to look at this morning. All of them keep running away. Now, these warthogs are the warthogs that were involved in yesterday morning's drama. They're the same ones that were in that sighting with all the leopards yesterday, so they can be thankful that most of them have moved on and they don't have to worry about being stalked. They can also be thankful that the leopards had a meal yesterday, that they didn't worry about them, because otherwise I think some of those piglets might have been in danger had Mvula not had a meal for himself already, and had Tandi been around when the warthogs were around. Definitely would have caused a bit of a stir. You can see they're still quite alert as to what's going on, listening, because the squirrels have alarm call and the lapwings are alarm calling. Now the lapwings are making a noise because they're busy brush packing the dam wall at Gari Dam, and that means that they're taking sort of thorny trees and they push it up against the dam wall so that it traps soil and stops erosion of the wall itself, and that will have disturbed the lapwings. Coldplay, you're wondering what eat? Well, warthogs are pretty much vegetarians, so they eating, you can see they go down on their knees like that, and they use a sort of disc-like snout that's quite hard to dig up varying components of plants, so root systems, tubers. You'll find that then in the summer months they eat a lot of grass and the seeds off the top of grass, so pretty much herbivores. You'll also find that sometimes they will eat fruits that drop down, so things like torchwoods or marulas. The warthogs will get into those as well. What have you done, Craig? Eh? Maybe it's because Craig doesn't have his bat cam. So when Craig doesn't have the bat cam, then all the animals don't want to be near him. You have to get back on the bat cam, Craig. You can't be separated. If you're Batman, you can't be separated from the bat cam. We need to sort this out. Now I'm just going to go quickly check past Galago Pan in case, you never know, maybe one of these three leopards that were here yesterday are lurking. We know that Tandi was around and we didn't find her yesterday afternoon, so maybe she's still in this area. So I'm just going to have a little check around here, and while we do that, let's go across to Scott Dyson, who, well, oh, there's leopard tracks right there again. So while I look at these leopard tracks, let's go across to Scotty and see how he's faring with his leopard search and whether he's had any more luck than what we've had.
Well, it's getting to the point that I'm willing to back anyone who finds a leopard, even if it is Tristan. The clock is ticking, and let's hope that somebody manages to find one. Driving past zebra is scars on their rump, and I always take a close look to see if they've, like this one, had any narrower. This is a lion attack, and interestingly, it's quite lucky in that its stripes don't appear to have been affected very much. Sometimes when the lions will scratch open deep tears into their hide, the stripes grow back in an ununiform fashion. So you'll have a black stripe connecting with a white stripe, and below that a white one with a black, or vice versa. So it's quite interesting, and it is also interesting how often you see zebra with scars on their rump. I think it's not uncommon for them to have lions latch onto them, but with those powerful hind quarters and their large body size, they are capable of kicking their predators off them. I've even heard a story of a big male leopard trying to catch a zebra on one occasion and being kicked in the forehead, and he was knocked unconscious, snoozing for a couple of minutes before he very warily woke up and I guess wondered what the hell had happened to him. So, useful war story, who's probably got it some street credit. Doesn't look very fresh, and it looks to have healed quite well. As we can see now, the tail would have provided a very useful aid in swatting off flies and keeping that wound free of pests. And we've just got a very useful update from one of our viewers who is responsible for starting Safari Live and responsible for all of us being on Safari together. Graham Wallington has pointed out that this is a pregnant zebra. And I think you could be right, Mr. Wallington. You are right. What will be interesting is to see when they start dropping their calves. I'm guessing it's going to be around October, November, just before the rains. So that belly is going to get bigger in the coming months, and certainly looking forward to a boom of babies. It'll either be in October and November or possibly January, February, which is probably be more likely just before the longer rains. The longer rainy season in Kenya are in the months of March and April, and it would make sense for these herbivores to plan the delivery of their youngsters when there will be a bounty of food for both of them. Okay, well, we're going to continue the quest to find a leopard and hopefully do so before Tristan gets to Galago Pan. But for now, you'll be joining Taylor with Tinyo.
He's just resting up at the moment. He doesn't really show much sign of moving about, but I don't blame him. He must be exhausted. You can see he's panting. He hasn't, like I said, he hasn't walked too far. However, all that food is now pressing up against his diaphragm and his lungs and making it quite difficult for him to catch his breath. Now, we've been seeing the Nkuhuma pride moving about quite a bit throughout the day. And it's quite interesting, and the only reason I reckon that they have been moving around during the day is just because it's tough out here at the moment. We haven't seen buffalo, we haven't really seen anything, so they're desperate. They're searching for food, they're searching for all types of things, and even if it means that they need to move during the day, they will. Now, they haven't found the Nkuhumas yet, so I don't know if they've managed to catch something last night, but they were desperately hungry. Whereas this boy, I think all he's going to do with a belly that full, I don't think he'll do too much moving around. He'll just move around to the shade. He might go down further into this drainage line, which is a perfect spot. So it's the drainage line that sort of runs between Pangolin Track and Ingwe Alley, especially once the sun burns through these clouds. I think it's going to be very, very warm. Hasn't really been too cold at all today. And we might find him again for the sunset safari, which will be quite nice. And hopefully he is around here and he leads us somewhere to maybe where the lionesses are. Or maybe the lionesses come back this side. But it'll be nice to have a male lion for the sunset safari to follow him on his territorial patrol if he goes on one. Now, dear watcher, you're wondering if it was really hot, would they lay in sort of water or mud? Yes, they will. I've actually seen lions doing exactly that. You'll sometimes see them going into lay against just the edge of the water, not necessarily right inside. But they might go into the odd puddle here and there. But then again, I've also seen some lions that don't like water at all and have made a concerted effort to go completely the scenic way around and not go through any puddles at all. Now, Chele Pan is not too far from us. It's just down that way. So if he does get a bit hot again, there isn't any water in this drainage system. I have walked through here before. You'll probably go around there, maybe even lay up under one of those big tamboti trees. There's some nice tamboti trees which would cast a good shadow, but it's still a pretty good spot around here. The quarry trees are evergreen, so always good shade around here, and the sun hasn't quite got to him just yet. What do you think, Seb? Do you think he's going to do any moving? Do you think we're going to find him in the same spot this afternoon?
I'm not sure.
It's a tough one.
They're so unpredictable. Exactly,
they are so unpredictable. And especially if there's no other lions on the property, maybe he's not going to hang around. Maybe he will start moving, but it's almost impossible to tell. You know, something could come through here and chase him away. He might hear a sound and get up and follow it. Even though he's got a big full belly like this, if there is an opportunity to catch something else, if it stumbles across him, he's not going to turn it down because he's full, because he never knows when he's going to get his next meal. But it does just show you that male lions are capable hunters. They don't necessarily need the prides to survive. He took down a zebra all by himself. I don't know if it was a zebra foal or if it was an adult, but he's been there for apparently, I think, 2 days now. Maybe it was a juvenile zebra that he was feasting upon. And I feel sorry for male lions. I think they really have such a hard life. And they're lucky now. They're living a fairly comfortable life because they've established themselves in the northern sands. However, these younger ones, of course, that are in the Ngahuma pride and any other younger males, it's really just going to get worse and worse for them once they've left the pride. They're obviously very comfortable with the lionesses. Now they're doing all the hard work and catching them food, but once the Birmingham boys say, right, off you go, you're not allowed to stay in the pride any longer, that's when life gets so tough. They've got to move in and amongst other males' territories, try and lay low, but then also try and catch yourself some dinner. And whenever you do catch a meal, you run the risk of drawing a lot of attention to yourself, especially with all the vultures that come about here. It is pretty tough for those boys. But the Birminghams did alright, don't you think? They're looking fit and healthy. I'd like to see him full more though. He must be one of my... Nena's my favourite Birmingham boy, but I like him full more just because he looks like a real warrior with the big cuts that he has on his face. And I don't know what he even looks like anymore. I might not even recognize him. The only giveaway of this Birmingham was the fact that he had that patch of skin missing on his, well, that piece of skin, sorry, that was showing. Well, obviously the fur hasn't quite recovered. And when he was looking at me, I didn't really get a good glimpse of his canine. He didn't have his mouth open wide enough for me to see. But they've just transformed into majestic males. They really have. And they're never the nicest looking things when they just come into rain. They are so scrappy, manes are short, you know, they're in between like teenage years, if you will. But now they've grown into lovely lions and beautiful dark manes, which is obviously very attractive to the Nkuhumas, to the Torchwood, to the Styx lions, to all of the various prides that they do visit. That dark mane is normally a sign of good testosterone, and he's a good looking male. Now, Just you're wondering when lions sleep, are they conscious? Well, have you ever heard of a cat nap? That's where it comes from. It's literally, even though it looks like this lion is fast asleep, their ears keep moving around. They're always listening out for something. But being the top predator in terms of the cat species, of course crocodiles are up there with one of the apex predators. In my opinion, I think a crocodile is probably the apex predator. They don't discriminate against anything. He's heard a car coming. That's why I think he's sitting up. That's the only difference that I can hear. There's a vehicle coming past. Anyways, so what I was going to say, what was I going to say now? Oh my goodness, my train of thought completely disappeared because I was listening to this vehicle. Alice, what was I saying about a man? Oh, the catnap. Sorry, yes, just I was answering your question. I'm all flustered now with this beautiful male lion. So yes, the whole catnap thing is so true. They will sleep heavily though, much more soundly than a leopard will sleep if they're on the ground, or a cheetah constantly looking over their shoulder. But a lion will put its head down. But let me tell you, even an inyala pulling a leaf off of a tree would be enough to trigger that lion. It would sit up and then look in that direction. And that's exactly what he's done. So he's having sleeps in between, but he's still listening to everything that's going on around him. I don't know where this vehicle's gone, if they're going to come here. Like I said, there have been lots and lots of lions about, just unfortunately just out of our reach. But wouldn't it be great when we wake up one morning and we have the Gahumas back, the Birminghams? I look forward to that day. We have missed you, male lions. I don't know when we last saw a Birmingham boy. It's been a few weeks. Well, at least a few weeks for me. So I'm absolutely ecstatic. I'm going to send you across to Tristan. He's headed towards Gallagher Pan, perhaps in search of leopards. Let's go find out if he's had any luck.
No luck from us. We had nothing, Taylor, I'm afraid. The leopards have given us the slip so far this morning. I did find the tracks where Shongile came out from where that carcass was, and she headed towards Gallagher Pan and drank, and then she's now then popped out into this area. I want to quickly just check one more time where I had her tracks this morning, just in case she has sort of lay right here and we've just been driving around her. Andy and Fran, you want to know how we know the difference between leopard and lion tracks? Well, the thing is that leopards are much smaller than lions, so their tracks tend to be a lot smaller. Obviously you do get small lions in the form of cubs, but when you have a cub situation, anytime there is a cub anywhere near there, generally you'll have a mother walking with it, particularly when you've got leopard tracks like the size of Shongile's, which I'm going to show you now. So here are her tracks. They should be quite clear. I don't know, Craig, if you're going to be able to get them. Let me just hold on, Craig. Let me just quickly try and reposition us a little bit. And so they are much larger in a lion than the leopard. The leopards tend to have much smaller tracks than what the lions do. Also, the shape of it's a little bit different. The lions tend to have a much sort of rounder shape than what you see with the leopards. So there we go. There is one of Shongile's little footprints. Now earlier I showed you a male track, and I was showing you how big it is in relation to my hand. My hand was about sort of half the size of my hand, and you'll find with Shongile's tracks they're nowhere near. They're also a lot more slender than what you see with the male. So if I circle this one here and I put my hand next to it, you can see the difference just in the thickness is very, very, very narrow, and also even the length of it is much smaller than what we saw with that male track earlier. But these tracks were very fresh this morning, and we found them first thing, and I was sure that she was here somewhere, but it seems like maybe she's been eluding me. You never know, she might have actually been lying right here and I just drove past her. Remember, I didn't have very good lights this morning, and it was dark and dingy, and that didn't help at all. So I'm going to just come back here and just check one more time and just see these tracks, because these tracks are as fresh as they could have been this morning, and we know that she often kind of moves around in this area, so hopefully these are hers and that she's actually just lying down somewhere here and I've just missed her. But you can see also where she went to the loo this morning. Now I don't know if you'll be able to see it, and shame, she obviously didn't get much of that carcass because her dung is very small in comparison to what you would see from an adult leopard. But there it is, just on this little section over there. So that's a very small dung and her 2 little footprints in front where she went and defecated, and that's still very soft and shiny, so it must have been early this morning that she did it. It can't have been too late, and we must have just missed her. So I want to just check one more time as to where she actually went and how she went from here, because it looks like she came there and then she cut back onto the road itself, and I don't know, maybe she's just lying on one of these termite mounds here. Now that the sun's coming out, maybe she'll pop her head up and we'll be able to see where she is. But I feel sorry for her. I really wanted her to get a good meal yesterday, but our naughty boy Mvula unfortunately probably ate everything. I went back to the carcass actually just now as well, just to see if there was any sign of any of these leopards, but alas, there was absolutely no sign of them. There's not even a scrap left there. You can see where the hyenas were around at the bottom of the tree, and just a bit of fluff here and there, but otherwise not even a single bone or anything for her to have fed on. See, her tracks, we lost them here already this morning, so I thought maybe she might be sitting on one of these mounds, and I was hoping that we'd see her on one of these mounds this morning, but it seems like she must have carried on. Maybe she went on towards the power lines, and that was the end of that. Now, I forgot that I haven't plugged in my earpiece, so let me plug that in, otherwise Alice is not going to be able to talk to me at all, and that's going to be a problem. There we go, Alice, I'm now plugged back in, so you can talk to me should you want to. Right, now our search for leopards has been, well, fruitless to say the least. Mr. Scott Dyson seems to have had much the same luck, so I think he's turned his attention to other animals.
Well, this Topi, like the leopard that Tristan is searching for, is perched up on a termite mound. And we were just speaking about this earlier this morning, how this is a quintessential scene of the Masai Mara, seeing a lone Topi elevated, chewing the cud, standing proud, with beautiful vistas around it. I was also hoping to show you some birds that you don't see very often, called coursers. And I believe it was a Temnix courser that we saw, but they have run off, but I've just got visual of them again. Ferg, the termite mound at about 1 o'clock, they're just in front of that, moving to the left. I'm battling to see in the monitor. I think you may have chosen the wrong termite mound there. If you zoom out again on the other side of the road at 1 o'clock, that's 12. Now that's 11 o'clock, so more to the right. 1 o'clock in relation to the front of the vehicle. Keep going further right, further right, further right, more right. Ferg and I need to synchronize our watches, it appears. We haven't worked together very much. Let me just drive forward and get us a bit closer, and we'll get to the bottom of this. Okay. You got them now, Ferg? They're directly opposite us there. There we go. Look at the way they run around. Oof. Was that a baby? I got a glimpse of something, but I wasn't sure if it was another bird or if it was one of their babies. Well, let's try and see if we can find it. There's another adult. It would be so cool if we did manage to find one of their little babies. Like most birds that spend a lot of time and nest on the ground, they will have incredible camouflage. And what they'll do when they are nervous is they'll just bunker down immediately and hide themselves using their cryptic camouflage. Good. Well, it's been a great morning on safari with all you guys. Thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. And You're interested to know, Laurie, on what noise does a Topi make? And I actually haven't heard them make a noise before. So, good question. Again, it'll be something that we discover together in the coming weeks. But for now, I'm not certain that they do make much of a noise. I'm sure they've got some kind of audio that they use to alarm call, but I have yet to hear that. So that is something that we are going to discover shortly. Okay, well, we are heading through an area that doesn't look like it's going to provide us any leopard, but there's one last thicket of vegetation ahead of us that we're going to try our best to find one so that we can get a wig onto Tristan. But in the meantime, you're going to be going to somebody who doesn't have a wig but does have long hair.
I don't know, I've got long hair, yes, Scott, but is it as nice as this lion's mane? Maybe, maybe not. Although at the moment, if I don't go to the hairdresser soon, I'm going to be looking like that lion with the dark undertones to it as well. I'm going to be matching Tinyo. But he's not going anywhere. He got up and he moved, sure, maybe not even 50 meters or so closer towards the drainage line. So I think that's where he's going to go and rest for the day. It's nice and cool in there. Maybe he'll find himself a good sleeping spot on some nice soft sand. But for the moment, it's like he's been put in the naughty corner because he's facing a guarri tree. He does not want us to see his beautiful face this morning. Luckily, we got a couple of shots of him earlier and on the move. But I've got a good feeling. Let's actually hope that the sun does burn the clouds away today. Normally, I'd be saying the complete opposite because we prefer the cooler weather. But I think if it stays cool and there's a bit of a breeze that's picking up now, he might still move throughout the day. Maybe not long distances all in one go, but I think he'll definitely get up and start moving. I'm just going to say goodbye to some guests. Cheers, guys. Have a good one. There you go. They're coming on. This is the first lion that they've seen this morning, which is quite nice. I was saying to them, well, we haven't seen a male lion in such a long time. Well, we haven't here at Djuma. It's been a while. I'm trying to think. Can anybody remember the last Birmingham Boy sighting we had? Alice, has anybody said when we last saw a Birmingham Boy? I don't think it was with me. It might have been with Tristan or even Ali. And I believe all of you have been not complaining. That's not the right word. Although I've actually been complaining. So yes, I'm going to complain that we haven't been seeing the Birmingham Boys. It has been such a long time. That's why I was so surprised and I was so excited. I was like a giddy schoolgirl when we saw him because I really couldn't believe my eyes. And maybe it is just because I haven't seen a male lion or big Birmingham, especially one of the Birmingham Boys, in a while, that I'm surprised as to how big he is. A very, very, very attractive male. We would have a few months ago said that Tinyo maybe wasn't the prettiest one out of the lot, but now that he's reached this magnificent size, my goodness, I'm so impressed. Bushmum, you said that he's got notches in his ear. Oh yes, he does. He's got the half moon notch. Is it in that one or is it in the other one? I can't remember. I think it actually might be that one. I think it is that little gap over there. Yes, it is. That's his ear that he has that sort of half moon cut out of it. There, now he's got to rest his big... Look at his big paws now. Look at that. They are huge. That's one thing I can tell you right now. I wouldn't want to get into a boxing match with a Birmingham Boy. Oh my goodness. So apparently the last sighting we had of a Birmingham Boy was the 21st of June. So I suppose it's not that long ago. Well, my sighting must have been in May. We had them one night. It was beautiful. Was it May? We had them on Impala Plains. We had Mfumo. It was very, very nice. And he was just sitting, relaxing. He was a last-minute male lion, not a last-minute leopard like normally the sightings that Tingana gives to us. But a last-minute Birmingham Boy. I'll take a last-minute any animal, to be honest. It's nice just to see him here. He's lucky, though. I'm happy for this lion because I can't imagine how uncomfortable he must be that he doesn't have to worry about the flies. So lucky you, Mr. Tinyo, and not having to worry about the biting flies. All you got to do is just try and get your breath again. Why don't you be a good lion and get up and go and walk towards Chele Pan? It's not too far, and have one last drink of water for us. Now, as we sit here, we've sort of been talking about their sleeping habits and how they can sleep soundly, even though their ears are still pricked up and listening to what's going on around them. Sharon, you're worried and a bit concerned. As he sleeps out here, wouldn't hyenas get him? Now, the one thing with hyenas versus lions, obviously we know that they're eternal enemies. They don't like each other at all. Is that when there's a male lion around, those hyenas are very, very, very careful, because a big male lion is much more powerful than a lioness, and they're often responsible for killing a lot of hyenas, so they've got to be careful. They won't bother him too much. Well, it seems as though Scott has joined the game of lions now. We've gone from looking at a beautiful Birmingham boy. We're going to go across and have a look at some lionesses.
This lioness definitely has cubs. You can see how her belly's sagging and her nipples are very prominent. And I'm wondering if it's one of the same lionesses we were watching yesterday afternoon. We've just bumped into her, and I can't be certain if it is, but there's a small scar on the left-hand side of her muzzle that leads me to think that it is part of the Olololo pride. It's 3 lioness, all that look to be of similar age. There we can see her stomach. I'm fairly certain that this lady has got some cubs, and we actually lost them further up this riverbed she's just kind of heading into now on Sunday night, and they had marched straight back towards this riverbed with a lot of intent. So she may have been wanting to, I'm just going to reposition quickly, she may have been wanting to actually get back to her cubs to nurse them. So exciting stuff. I wonder, actually, I think we need to go backwards. We need to go backwards in order to go forwards here. There's another little road that we can take and try and catch up with her again. Woohoo! We'll do the whole thing in reverse, why not? That'll possibly provide Ferg with some good angles, actually, as she comes into view. Sorry if this is making you feel a bit strange. But this is going to actually get us and Ferg into the best spot to film her making her way towards us. Or at least in theory, that's what I'm hoping. So she should pop up somewhere here. Imagine if she takes us back to her cubs. Come on, where have you gone? Huh. You got her there, Ferg? Well done. Oh, right there. Now, I'm guessing at this stage of the day, she could be thinking about getting comfortable in that shade. Who knows, there's so many places in these little riverbed systems where she could tuck her cubs away, in root systems of the trees that have been washed away, creating small caves. There's lots of good hiding places. And the fact that she's not with her 2 sisters also indicates that possibly they are elsewhere, possibly looking for a meal. Maybe they don't have the responsibility of cubs at the moment. And again, this is all just speculation, but I'm sure a lot of you will agree that her belly indicated that she is certainly producing milk, and that would mean that she has cubs. Well, what an incredible morning it's been, not only here in the Masai Mara, but also in the Sabi Sands at Djuma. We've certainly loved having you guys join in. Apologies for the technical issues in the beginning of the safari, but thanks for those of you who stuck it out and waited to join us on the action. We are going to have to continue the quest for the leopard between Taylor, Tristan and myself and get to the bottom of it, but that'll be on another safari. We'll see you guys out this afternoon. Looking forward to another great safari. See you next time.